It was a Tuesday morning like any other. The skies above New York were clear, the city alive with its usual rush. Millions went to work, children filled classrooms, and the world moved forward, unaware that history was about to change forever. 8:46 a.m. American Airlines Flight 11, hijacked by terrorists, tore through the sky and slammed into the North Tower of the World Trade Center. In an instant, fire and smoke billowed into the blue sky. People on the streets froze, staring upward, trying to make sense of the unthinkable. Many thought it was a tragic accident. But just 17 minutes later, as cameras captured live coverage, the horror deepened. United Airlines Flight 175 sliced into the South Tower at 9:03 a.m. This was no accident, it was an attack. Panic spread across America. News anchors struggled to find words. Families desperately called loved ones. And high above the country, 2 more planes were still under the control of hijackers. 9:37 a.m., American Airlines Flight 77 plummeted into the Pentagon, striking at the heart of America's military command. Flames consumed the building, shaking the Capitol. Then came Flight 93. Passengers on board learned through phone calls what had happened to the Twin Towers. They made a choice to fight back. In their final moments, ordinary Americans became heroes. Struggling against the hijackers, they forced the plane down into a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, at 10:03 a.m. The intended target, likely the White House or the U.S. Capitol, was spared. Inside the World Trade Center, thousands were trapped. First responders climbed stairwells, guiding strangers to safety. Many knew they might never come back out, yet they pressed forward. 9:59 a.m., the South Tower gave way, collapsing into dust and fire. Just 29 minutes later, the North Tower fell. In less than 2 hours, the iconic Twin Towers were gone. The streets of Lower Manhattan became a war zone. Ash, paper, and steel rained down. Survivors staggered through smoke, their faces covered in gray dust. Nearly 3,000 lives were lost that day. Mothers, fathers, children, firefighters, police officers, flight attendants, and passengers. Over 6,000 more were injured, and countless others carried invisible scars. From 90 different nations, the victims reflected the world itself. Their absence left an emptiness that can never be filled. For the first time in history, America's skies were emptied, every plane grounded. The world watched in disbelief as the most powerful nation on Earth appeared vulnerable. That night, President George W. Bush addressed a grieving nation. Terrorist attacks can shake the foundations of our biggest buildings, but they cannot touch the foundation of America. Investigations quickly pointed to Al-Qaeda, led by Osama bin Laden. The group had plotted for years, training hijackers in secret camps. Their mission was clear: strike America's symbols of economic might, military strength, and political power. The U.S. responded with the War on Terror. Troops were sent to Afghanistan to dismantle Al-Qaeda and topple the Taliban. Security at home tightened. Ports transformed, surveillance expanded, and new laws redefined freedom in the name of safety. Yet, in the aftermath, questions arose. Could the attacks have been prevented? Some pointed to ignored intelligence warnings. Others suggested deeper conspiracies. Claims of controlled demolitions, government cover-ups, or unanswered mysteries at the Pentagon. But the 9/11 Commission report concluded the attacks were the work of Al-Qaeda, enabled by failures in intelligence and security. Till for many, doubts and wounds remain. Tragedy of 9/11 reshaped the world, brought grief but also acts of incredible courage. Firefighters who climbed until the very end. Passengers on Flight 93 who sacrificed themselves to save others. strangers who carried strangers through smoke-filled streets. Today, the 9/11 Memorial and Museum stands where the towers once reached the sky. And above it all rises the Freedom Tower, a symbol of resilience, reminding us that even in the face of darkness, hope endures. September 11, 2001 was a day of sorrow, a day of terror, but also a day of heroes. The world changed forever that morning, but the memory of those lost and the courage of those who stood tall lives on. The 9/11 terror attacks were not a random strike. They were the outcome of years of planning, gaps in intelligence, and overlooked warnings. Beyond the destruction of buildings, they reshaped America and the world, forcing nations to rethink security, terrorism, and freedom. The uncovered truth is this: 9/11 was both a failure of imagination and a tragedy of unpreparedness, a moment when 19 men exploited the world's strongest nation and in doing so forever changed global history.